When the couple arrived, Bethlehem was crowded. Every upper room was occupied and every guest house was full. In the end, Mary and Joseph were grateful to be given accommodation in an animal shelter. Make room for him! Make room for the boy! But there, in that stable, the time came for Mary to give birth. There were no halos, no orchestra played in the background. At this point in the story, you can see just how poor Mary and Joseph were. They were of such little consequence that even in Mary's vulnerable state, very little was done to help. Once again, God's route into our world could not be predicted. The Savior of the entire planet was arriving in total obscurity. Mary took the tiny infant and wrapped him up in strips of cloth, then made a bed of straw and laid him to sleep in a manger. Look, he comes to you in a manger, riding on the foal of a donkey. There is another way. There is another way. That night, God must have been bursting to tell people the news like any new father. First up for the full story, the local newspaper? No. The town council? Relatives? No. On the hills outside Bethlehem, the roughest and poorest of society, shepherds were doing what they do best, making sure the sheep were safe. These people lived among sheep. They smelled of sheep. But God was desperately interested in these people. He knew them. He loved them. And despite their basic living in humble state, His favor rested on them. It was time to rock their world. Enter an angel. His first words, "Don't be afraid." This was heaven bringing a little contrast to the evening. The angel went on, "Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is Christ the Lord. This will be how you'll know He is the King of Kings, the Most High God, the Prince of Peace, and the Lord of Lords. You'll find Him lying in a feeding trough." It was ridiculous, but it was an angel that had said it. Just to make the atmosphere a little more intense, God gave permission for an enormous number of angels to really terrify the local peasant community with, perhaps, a song or two. The shepherds got their priorities right. There was no theological debate, no examination of the scriptures. Hang the consequences! They abandoned the sheep and hurried off to find the baby just as the angels had said. After this, the word was out. The shepherds all had PhDs in gossip, and they told everyone the news. Israel had been waiting forever for the long-promised Messiah, but the news of His arrival was in keeping with all the other events. It all seemed a little wrong, which made it oh so right. Immanuel had arrived. God was not distant, He was with us. Until now, God had observed humanity from above, but now, for the first time, He was looking up at us. Little blue planet, blue for a boy!